Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Modi's Mann Ki Baat in his first ever international podcast with Lex Fridman is creating ripples. The riveting 3-hour dialogue covered the hard-hitting issues related to India, its neighbors and its alliance partners. In this bold and unfiltered conversation, Prime Minister decisively put his foot down on key topics, drawing powerful parallels between Trump's America First ideology and his own resounding India First call. Prime Minister Modi did not hold back. He praised Trump's courage and the importance of mutual trust and respect. Back in the United States, his friend eagerly shared a clip of Prime Minister Modi's dynamic interview on his social media platform, Truth Social. Even the belligerent dragon couldn't stop appreciating Prime Minister Modi's compelling message that competition should never escalate into conflict and that differences should be resolved without disputes. The opposition remains skeptical, claiming that while Prime Minister Modi showered glowing praises on Donald Trump, his alliance partner is steaming up a tariff assault against India. Modi has described the Godhra incident as a tragedy of unimaginable proportions, passionately defending his government at the time by stating that his political foes attempted to wrongfully implicate him despite courts clearing his name not once but twice.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate with Gaurav Bhatia, Anand Ranganathan, Sanjay Jha and Tariq Khan is Suhail Seth. And to you I come first, Suhail Seth. What did you think about the Prime Minister's podcast, number one? And number two, do you find fault with the podcast or do you find fault with the same badgering by the opposition as they continue to do for the Prime Minister?
So I tweeted saying that I found the podcast to be honest, hard-hitting and heartwarming. You know, when you duck a question, then there's the sense of guilt. When you answer a question, there can be only two opinions. One is you agree with that answer, the other is you don't agree with the answer. But quite honestly, it was Narendra Modi who was being talked to and in conversation with Fridman. It wasn't, you or me or Sanjay or anyone else. So I don't think he ducked any questions. Often it has been said he doesn't want to address issues. He addressed every issue. The issue of Godhra was placed before him and he addressed it. Now, that is his opinion. Number one. Number two, when Godhra happened, there was a lot of consternation. And the courts, the same very courts that even members of the opposition have gone to multiple times, exonerated the Prime Minister. What more do we want? And I'm not even getting into competitive issues here. Navika saying that, look at what happened in 1984, blah, blah, blah. That's irrelevant. The point is, the Prime Minister had a podcast with Fridman, and that podcast, to my mind, had everything on the table. Nothing was, out of bounds. There was nothing that was dodged. And it was a very, very clear articulation of a man who is a good communicator. Now, Sanjay Jha or me or Gaurav Bhatia may not agree. But the fact is, did he dodge any questions? The answer is no. Was he forthright in his replies? The answer is yes. I've done 167 plays as an actor. I know a little bit about body language and I know a little bit about, how people address issues. And I can tell you from what I saw, it was a very, very unequivocal understanding of the issues and a placement of those issues before the people through Lex Fridman.
Well, so let me get in Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, is the opposition's worst criticism the fact that the Prime Minister has not done a press conference? So why did he speak to Lex Fridman? I mean, come on. Every question was asked, and may I just add myself. On Godhra, I've done three or four interviews with the Prime Minister when he was Chief Minister between 2006 and 2014, at least 3 or 4 interviews. I've never found him on the back foot, on the defensive, on answering any of those questions, and they've never been never been no-go areas before an interview with him was scheduled. So Sanjay Jha, does the Congress party at best say, why is he not doing a press conference, or why the Prime Minister is speaking to an American scientist? Is that the best the Congress can do?
Navika, in my personal opinion, all political leaders across parties must have more engagements with the media, with podcasters, with university town halls, because I think if you're not going to have that kind of transparency in political communication, I think you're being unfair to the very people who vote in any democracy. Like, for example, I'm a huge critic of Donald Trump, and I don't think that's going to change in a hurry. But I do like the fact that he's holding press conferences by the day. I mean, some of it is bizarre when you have a live streamed of a diplomatic negotiation that happened with Ukraine, for example. But having said that, I think politicians need to engage more with the media. My short answer to Mr. Modi's podcast, number one, and you know that I don't like his politics or his ideology at all, and I'm very vocal about it, especially on your shows. I'm happy that he's had a conversation. Now, you know, there are many people who are talking about the credentials of the podcaster, blah, 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 is more right-wing friendly, etc. Ignore that. Godhra did come up, and it's a very unpleasant topic for Mr. Modi. I get it. He's answered it his way. I believe, and I don't agree with him, because the Supreme Court did say that Emperor Nero fiddled while Rome burnt, but I'm still happy that he had an answer. I don't agree with it, but I'm glad he had an answer.
For a long time. It's just that the Congress party wants to be sitting in judgment on whether the answer was good or not, almost as if they are the teacher who are correcting the answer sheet of the student. Isn't that the way the Congress and the opposition looks at this, Gaurav Bhatia? Because the question is, if the Prime Minister, let's say, were to do a press conference, ye phir bhi kahenge ke sponsored question the, right-wing Godi media asked the questions, they will never be happy. So why should the Prime Minister play by what is recommended by the opposition?
Navika, I think we shouldn't fall in their trap. I first want to discuss the great interview of the Prime Minister that we revere, and I think it was a very patriotic, straight from the heart, with a lot of clarity that was visible throughout the 3 hours 17 minutes that he spoke. And it was very reassuring for the nation, and I will tell you why. Because there has been a habit, compare India to Pakistan. Narendra Modi ji gave a stern warning to Pakistan also when he said that it is a terror factory. But India was being compared to the US. Just like the US president wants America to be great, India is great. And I think that was a strong message. This is where India stands today. Now, when my friend says here that he has not done a press conference, Navika, you have witnessed during elections, there have been more than 40-50 interviews in a span of 15 days given by Narendra Modi ji. There are no 89. So imagine. Now, the more to be chosen by the leader, I think, is his prerogative. If Narendra Modi ji wants a one-to-one interview, the opposition can't force him that you do a presser.
Absolutely.
Arey bhaiya, I know there was an interview of Rahul Gandhi on foreign soil. Just a sec. I will tell you how he tried to put India to shame when he said Sikhs can't wear turban in India. They can't sport a kada. That was a moment of shame for all of us, because Rahul Gandhi was lying. And second, he said democracy doesn't exist in India on foreign soil. And third, he said USA and UK should interfere in our internal matters, which is a violation of our sovereignty. So I think Narendra Modi ji stands tall, and this is what the opposition can't tolerate.
Tariq Khan, I'm very short on time, but Tariq Khan, I want to ask you, I want to just simply ask you this. Is the opposition losing the plot by badgering the Prime Minister on any excuse, including the latest podcast?
Listen, this time I'll back Narendra Modi ji, Prime Minister. I'll back him. I'll say he's right. Why not? Why?
मेरे को heart attack ना हो जाए.
So, let me complete. Let me count out a number. 1,17,230 is the number of press conference Modi has since last 10 years. And the rest of the 13 prime minister have zero press conference. That's what I'm really not happy. Why these people are shouting that Modi don't have any type of press conference?
Well, Anand Ranganathan, you know, itna sarcasm shayad inhe bhi nahi pachega. But 20 seconds, respond.
No, Navika, I agree with you and Sohail that Mr. Modi did not duck any questions. Absolutely right. But I must say that not a single uncomfortable question was asked. Perhaps that's why he did not duck any question. He didn't need to. Be that as it may, I think 2 points that I take home from his 3-hour-long comfortable interview were his comments that are important on Pakistan and China. And that set a new path, and I think those were important. Other than that, it was just
but that's what podcasts are all about.
Yeah.
And I've attended press conferences even by Dr. Manmohan Singh. Well, if anybody believes that uncomfortable questions and questions coming from uncomfortable people who would have raised those were allowed there, well, think again. Well, someday I'll write a book and I'll tell you what really happened behind the scenes. But tonight, we leave it at that. Thank you very much to all my panelists, and thank you very much, viewers, for joining me on the News Hour. Good night, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow on the News Hour at 9.